All right, y'all, welcome old family and new family to Cypher Scholars. Part education, part hip-hop, all culture. Yes. You're listening to your boy Brandon White, a.k.a. Bushido Garvey, as I'm known in many MC circles.
You're listening to the co-host.
Well, you're listening and looking, you know what I'm saying, depending on what the medium is, you know what I'm saying. Peace to everybody listening to us online, and through Facebook in particular and IG. So let's just hop right into the syllabus. So our syllabus today, we're going to be talking about this major education case that's going on. It has a lot of implications for church and state that involves the Blaine Amendments. It's called Espinosa versus Montana, right? And then after that, we're going to be talking a bit about the coronavirus in China. You know what I'm saying? And it's popped up in other places too. We'll get into that. And then we're going to be talking a bit about the whole Russell and Oprah situation with that whole documentary that's supposed to be about Russell Simmons allegedly sexually assaulting women, and Oprah backing out of that whole process. So let's hop right into the syllabus. You know what I'm saying? So
the first thing on the syllabus, as you already stated, the Blaine Amendments.
Yes.
All right, so the Supreme Court will soon hear this case. And the Supreme Court hears a certain amount of cases every year. And one of those cases will be the Espinosa versus Montana Department of Revenue case. This case is dealing with the Blaine Amendments, which was created by James G. Blaine back in 1875, 10 years after Lincoln passed away, or got assassinated.
I guess Kendra Espinosa is a woman that living in Montana. Yep. She didn't like what the public schools was doing. Yep. So she sent her kids to a private institution. She liked it, but it costs a lot. And there was a tax credit scholarship program, I guess, that was going on.
Yeah.
However, it's a religious school, and there are rules against, using public funding from that Blaine Amendment to fund, religious tax credit based scholarships. So, they weren't allowed to get that money, but, they sued. Yeah. So,
Espinosa was excluded from that scholarship program for her 3 children that was in this religious school. And obviously it's because of this Blaine Amendment. This Blaine Amendment is basically stating that funds will not be given to any sectarian institutions, and the word sectarian is related to Catholics, but nowadays it's more expanded, it seems. So do you think that this is a good ground to stand on for Kendra Espinosa and everybody? Because I guess originally it was 3 mothers that were suing the state of Montana, and then I guess like they won it first in like 2017, but then in 2018, I guess in 2018, state of Montana was like, nope, we got these Blaine Amendments. You can't use public funds for private institutions, and now Kendra Espinosa is clapping back. Do you think that this is a righteous cause? Do you think this is something that she has grounds to do, to use public funds to make sure her children get educated by I'm sorry if I misspoke, a religious and private institution, not necessarily a private institution. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that she has grounds, and she. What's your question?
Like, does she have grounds to do this? Like, is it something where, you know what I'm saying, she's right in doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because I think it goes against her rights as a citizen. You know what I mean? So I think this goes against your what's the name of the rights, man? Civil rights. I believe it's civil rights,
constitutional rights. Yep. But now there is in the Constitution a separation of church and state. So if there's a program that actually technically is like donor money, but it's like a federal tax credit given to those donors, right? So if the federal government is incorporated with giving this money, right, to private and religious, not just private schools, because they do it for private. They don't have a problem with private, but if it's private and religious, and it's supposed to be a separation of church and state, why should she feel like she should get this money? Now I'm playing battler's advocate here. Part of me kind of is feeling this hype away, but I also kind of get it. But I am just playing battler's advocate here.
I would say the reason why it's right for her to do this is because of the way the Blaine Amendments was created.
The Blaine Amendments came about through political gains, I believe. I did some research on James G. Blaine. He was trying to run for presidency, I believe.
So it's kind of selfish, like motivation.
Yeah. So he felt like I could get more votes if I can what's the word? If I could
target these people.
Yeah, target these people.
Kind of like what Trump was doing.
Yeah, basically.
Doing.
You know what I mean? So some people would say that this Blaine Amendment thing was created through political gains.
Yeah.
And it
like
also is a failed
groups.
amendment. But at the same time, they said it's a failed amendment, but at the same time, for somehow 38 states
picked it up. Yeah.
And you had to pick it up to be a part of the union.
Right.
You know what I mean? On top of that, because remember, this is around the time when the union's being created.
Well, no. Ain't it around the time when the union is kind of being challenged, because it's after the
Civil War.
So it has to be reconstituted, reformed.
Yeah. So all of these things, all these factors played into the Blaine Amendments being created. You know what I mean? Through political situations. You know what I mean?
And to your point, old boy Blaine, I guess, was a part of something called the Know Nothing movement.
Okay.
Which basically was like the Tea Party at a time.
Okay.
Where they hated on certain groups to your point, to kind of gain power and popularity and get legislation passed that they wanted to get passed. And one of those groups, I guess, was Catholics, right? Because I guess Catholics at the time, they were growing in population. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of Irish immigration happening at the time, and they didn't, America was like largely a Protestant nation, and they saw Catholicism as a threat. So, when they were trying to educate theirs and their kids, the Catholics, and they were trying to like battle and integrate into the public education system and use public funds to also teach Catholic doctrine, because I guess around this time period, like people who were Protestants were doing the same thing. Like it was common schools or public schools that were using public funds to talk about King James Bible, to have Protestant doctrine. But when the Catholics were trying to do it, they was like, oh no, we gotta do this Blaine Amendment. So on one hand, there is separation of church and state.
Yes.
Right, which I value and I understand, even as somebody who's a Christian, I value that and understand that. But at the same time, you have this rule that was made out of prejudice. Okay. Right, so I'm on one hand, it's just like they do need to be separate, and I know people like Betsy DeVos are going to try to take advantage of it by
But she's in the private schools though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's one thing for you to be a individual parent, you know what I'm saying, like Espinosa is, and trying to fight for a right that you believe is yours, which I understand. But it's another thing for you to win this court case, and then other more powerful entities try to dismantle the public education system because of this particular court case where this one parent was trying to exercise some religious freedom, and thought it was incorrect to not have funds. When by the way, Montana's private schools, 2/3 of their private schools are religious. Okay. So it's not even a whole lot of other options. You know what I'm saying, for you not to have non-religious. And she's a Christian woman, so she wants to educate her kids in a Christian spot, wants to use a scholarship. Is getting denied based on an amendment that was bigoted. So I understand that, but there are other more powerful business entities that will take advantage of that to do their own unrighteous dirt. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I get kind of caught up with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so we gotta understand the severity of this amendment and how it could change the landscape of the education system. Because if the Supreme Court hears it and strikes down the Blaine Amendments, you know what I mean? That's going to change a lot of things. Parents will have the opportunity to get funds from the federal government or any institution to basically help with the education of their children or create opportunities for the children to get educated.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So that's big and that's huge, and so
that's serious, man.
It's very serious because on one end, like, cause here's my thing with America and American education, like it's always one extreme over the other. Either it's we're only going to be doing public education and you have limited choice. boom, that's it. And there's problems with that because public education is a mess too.
Yep.
But then also private school is a mess too. She found one that was good for her.
Yep.
But there are a lot of private schools that don't provide services for SPED people,
Yep.
don't provide services for English
I was
learners,
thinking about that.
don't provide, like differentiated instruction.
Kid might be autistic, but then they won't be able to get the opportunity because they're in a religious school. Like, come on, that's crazy.
And they don't have to abide by some of the same legislation.
Yep.
Or they can get away with it more smoother. She happened to find a school that was still good for her kids, but there are plenty of private schools that are not up to snuff.
Sure.
Period. Especially if you're talking about like diversity and culture and all that. So let alone what's on the law book. So they trying to flood the gates with private schools and trying to make that more free market, but that gives more opportunity for corruption on the other side of the fence.
I want to ask you ever heard of the Blaine Amendments in your life, man?
Nope. Not until we was talking about this. Not until this thing.
Like,
you know
this
what I'm
is
saying?
on the low. This is low right here,
very
man.
low. I wonder how many educators know about this kind of information. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
and this is really important, man.
You know what I'm saying? It's really important. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I don't know, man. I did hear some information that Colorado is an important place for this amendment.
Word?
Because Colorado helped started the women's suffrage thing. Okay. Colorado helped with the legalization of recreational drugs. Colorado helped did a lot of different things, and I think Colorado has some connection with this Blaine Amendment thing as well. I haven't fully done the research to really say, but
so Colorado's another place where this may blow up for better or for worse.
So we should pay attention to Colorado, and especially the judge maybe there or in the Supreme Court that Donald Trump put in there. I mean, that might be overhearing this case because James G. Blaine is a Republican. And also, I don't know. It might change. I don't know. I'm just saying. Pay attention to Colorado. Keep your eyes on it. That's it.
Pay attention to this case too. Espinosa versus Montana. All parents, all teachers. It implies everybody, because that was another thing before we hop into the next part of the syllabus. Like, it's fascinating, and Kendra Espinosa, like, I don't know what her cultural worldview is. She has a Hispanic last name. Mm-hmm. She, has very, very, very fair skin. She could definitely pass for white. Mm-hmm. So but that doesn't necessarily mean you don't identify with whatever your Latino heritage is. Mm-hmm. But it was just very interesting just to see this whole debate around school choice happening when folks who are, there's a lot of debate in the African American community, and even with Latino communities, just like folks of color in general, in major urban areas, not where she's at in Montana, but they don't get heard. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole site called Project Forever Free, where there's some things I don't agree with, but there's a lot I do, and they talk about how the informed voice of like parents of color, teachers of color around school choice is often dismissed. But here we are. Even that whole case with remember that one woman who went to jail for homeschooling her kids, that one black woman. Damn, she was exercising her choice, but end up getting arrested for it. You know what I'm saying? Will this whole push for school choice include those type of things? And the history shows it don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah, I see what you're saying. That's really important to state as well. So what we looking like?
Good looks. I'll be rambling and whatnot. So next.
No. Before you
go
do
ahead,
that,
go ahead.
Pay attention to that.
My bad. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Charles. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't here to the healing process yet, check out the healing process. Great project. Thank you, everybody listening on Facebook Live. So let's go ahead and hop into this coronavirus situation.
Looking on the syllabus, the China coronavirus. This occurred in the city of Wuhan.
Yeah, Wuhan.
And I think that was like one of the main places, basically.
Yep. Hubei province.
And they were so this virus has affected over 1,000 people. I believe 1,400 are infected. 40 people have died from this, I believe.
Yeah, 41.
41.
Yep.
Still going. And also China actually ordered a new hospital to be built right now. Yeah. Have you?
They said it'd be done in 2 weeks.
Oh, they're not playing
they're not playing.
Yo, the nurses is in full body suits, man, trying to take care of these patients, man. And I mean,
and just for the folks who don't know, like, because being an American, it can be easy to not understand how other people live and move. Like, that city with this virus has 11 million people in it.
Yeah.
It's bigger than New York City. So imagine New York City being shut down
How many people? There's billions of people in China, right? How many billions though?
It's up to 2. It's close to 2. It's like close to 2. It's around there.
So this one city is crazy, right? Like this is, I mean, a very centralized.
Very centralized place, you know what I'm saying? It's not Beijing, it's not Hong Kong, it's not like one of those cities where Americans immediately think, but like it's a major city, 11 million people, again, bigger than New York City. So imagine like travel restrictions being put on New York City. Imagine if, you know, a second hospital had to be put.
Travel restrictions, not just not flight, just flight, driving, biking, whatever.
Exactly. Like
so you can't come into the city. You can't get out the city.
It's quarantined. 11 million people are shut down. You know what I'm saying? Like nationals had to get up out of there. You know, I guess like, you know, technically like other nationals got to be able to be pulled out of there. That's kind of crazy to me to hear.
Nationals could go though.
Nationals could go, which is I don't know. I mean, I understand it, but that's, you know, you ask questions like, you know, because what if they infected? You know what I'm saying? And I guess there's other cases outside of Wuhan. I'm saying it right?
Yeah.
Like I guess in Australia.
Provinces. Oh, okay. Now go ahead.
It's like Australia, France, and even in the U.S.
Singapore, I believe.
Yeah, they're a threat. I believe they might. Something like that. They're definitely a threat. Like all those Asian countries that are like south of China are in direct threat. You know what I'm saying? Of this virus. You know what I'm saying? And it's a serious virus. It's very very contagious.
But let me restate it again. 41 people killed in Wuhan. 1,400 affected. Outside of that, there's a case actually that happened in Australia, Victoria, Australia. There's one person that has been affected in Australia, and there's one person that's affected here in the United States in Chicago. There's a Chicagoan woman.
There's actually a case that they're looking at in Tennessee too.
Oh, okay.
It's still being like finalized and all that.
And let me say this: the CDC is also testing 63 patients to see if
here in the U.S.
Here in the U.S.
They're
testing 63 patients to see if they have been affected as well.
Real talk, like, you know, while I was learning about this, it reminded me of the conversations we've had on this show in terms of the food recalls that we talk about. Because when people have to understand, like a lot of these viruses, including the coronavirus, which has no specific cure or vaccine, it doesn't have a specific cure or vaccine because it more than likely is a species jumper, meaning that it came from an animal. You know what I'm saying? And it got transmitted to us. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times species jumping viruses occur because of how we interact with the animal food we eat. And how we treat and raise these animals. Whether you think of mad cow disease, whether you think of the avian bird flu or H1N1, all these situations came from like a mismanagement of how we cultivate this livestock. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm gonna say I wish I would have did some more research on the coronavirus itself. You know what I mean? Because I'll have a little bit of understanding of the virus. You know what I mean? And see and probably give some information on how to deal with it. You know what I mean? But obviously it's a virus, and you have many different types of viruses. You know what I mean? You got the rhinovirus. You got the
see, I don't even know about that. That's crazy.
Oh no. Common cold.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Well, I guess this though is in the family of the common cold. It's like it's just like a more ruckus cousin. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's just like people can seriously die. You know what I'm saying?
I'm probably saying the name wrong. It's a certain type of name for the common cold. But yeah. Basically, hopefully we could give an update on this case in China because you know what I mean? I think it's important to keep up with what's going on because it is affecting different places around China and outside of China as well as China itself.
And I guess in terms, like, I'm glad they are building this hospital, right? And that would mean that they're getting more medical staff. But I guess in recent stories, according to the BBC, they were saying that there are only 3 doctors per 1,000 people.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know, so like I'm assuming with the building of new hospitals that will change, but they're not. You know, that's you could argue that's not being equipped to deal with like a major virus that's already spread across like continents. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like
so this is like the second coming of the Ebola.
Right. Which also had a lot to do with how we engage with like animals in terms of like bushmeat. That's what they call it. They call it. In West Africa, bushmeat. You know how we not necessarily the kind of animals we eat, but also the treatment and the process of it just kind of being
very
out
important,
in the open, or even
how you the type of foods you give the animals. You know what I mean? Because the type of foods you give the animals gives the animals I mean, depending on if it's the wrong type of diet, they will get a disease from that particular food, and then you got to treat it some kind of way.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Which will cause more sickness and more complications, and then
Mona and bleach and all that hitting it with it.
Yo, I was watching this special on Netflix even just last night, and it was showing. I guess Netflix has like a series, eerily coincidentally, so about pandemics that just came out.
Okay.
Which is an odd coincidence, but they were explaining how, you know, viruses and pandemics and epidemics work, and they were in China, and they showed like a chicken factory, which again, these chickens are like, you know, like wall to wall packed up together. They get no
close
rooms.
Areas.
They get no room to move. You know what I'm saying?
Stabbing each other with beaks and all
like,
that.
To my understanding about how China like grows and cultivates their chickens is just as bad as here, if not worse, in terms of like, you know, getting no sunlight, in terms of wallowing in their feces and urine and being pumped with all different types of growth hormones and antibiotics and just crazy stuff. But what you saw was them almost giving those chickens a flu vaccine. You saw that, like, which again, like, I don't want no chicken with no vaccines in it. What's y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? You think you're resolving something by preventing it, but just like, again, the way we treat our animals that we
got the vaccine pills too. We gotta get on that.
They have vaccine pills now. See, like,
I don't even.
This is a whole mess. This is a whole mess. We got to do better.
We gotta get into that.
At being responsive to and preventative with these situations. Not just China.
It's not just us. It's these institutions as well. It's these, the food institutions,
CDC, the World Health Organizations, the FDA, all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? All of them got to get better.
I mean,
but yeah, so
we're looking like on time.
We got enough time to discuss this Russell and Oprah situation. So
last but not least,
yes. So for those who don't know, just a quick rundown. Russell Simmons has been accused of a lot of sexual misconduct and assault, right? The hip hop juggernaut, right? Oprah was a part of a team that was creating a documentary about these women who were accusing Russell of these crimes, right? Russell was like, "Yo, Oprah, Oprah, come on now, like one, you know me, so we should be having conversations, and two, these things aren't true." The hip hop community even kind of pressured Oprah a little bit, or tried to pressure Oprah.
50 Cent.
Even Uncle Murda. I don't think Oprah's listening to Uncle Murda. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, he talked about it in the 2019 wrap up a lot. And now she's stepped out of it. Her reasoning for stepping out of it was because she wanted to make sure that the facts were straight, because she saw that there were one too many inconsistencies that she was not comfortable with. So she
even though she believes the women, she believes the women, even though there's some inconsistencies,
right?
But she stepped out of it regardless.
No, you're right, exactly. So that was it. What are your thoughts of her?
Let's add this. She also stepped out of it because she said to the people that she's working with too, as an executive producer to produce
the directors,
this film, that if we don't, we need more women in this film.
Right.
We need to broaden the context a little bit.
Right.
And I do not want anything on my name to be put in the Sundance film, because it's supposed to come out today. It's supposed to come out today. January 20th. Coming out today. And the people's like, oh really? Well, we still putting it out anyways. It's going to go through the Sundance film, so I want to get away from that. You know what I mean?
Word.
So just to fully complete that.
No, indeed. So what do you think about her being like, I believe the girls, but also there's inconsistencies? Man, what are your thoughts about those kind of statements? You know what I'm saying?
I think she's playing both sides of the fence. She's just trying to be safe on both sides. She doesn't want to get scrutinized by the women, and as well as the men as well. You know what I mean? I would think. I'm glad that you brought this up. I think it is important for her to speak with Russell Simmons as well. You know what I mean? Because I don't think she is speaking with him. Did she have an interview or conversation with him and stuff like that?
There was a private conversation, and then there was like a public kind of like IG post that Russell did.
Okay, but in terms of like, when are you coming out with a documentary? This documentary looked like it's just focusing on the women itself. What about on both sides of the story? What about learning both sides of the story and trying to see if they match up, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I hear that, and I'll say in terms, because you said she's playing both sides of the fence. From my view, I feel like she is making a hard, but I think responsible choice when being caught between a rock and a hard place. On one end, especially as a sexual assault and rape survivor herself.
True.
You know what I'm saying? She wants the voices of women who are accusing men of these kind of things, who have these experiences, to be heard. On the other end, though, she also wants to make sure that the facts are right. You know what I'm saying? And so she may have a belief that there's something wrong and there's something going, not accurate. But she also wants to make sure that, like somebody's not being falsely accused or addressing those inconsistencies. Because I guess, the director Ava DuVernay, she's a black woman director. She directed A Wrinkle in Time. She directed the 13th documentary.
Yeah.
And she's like the premier black woman director in Hollywood. And I guess she watched the documentary before it came out, and I guess she had very harsh criticism to Oprah about it. You know what I'm saying? So salute to Ava DuVernay for having a critical mind and not being a yes woman when it comes to like that kind. People just need to continue thinking critically about these sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, real true.
And not
can't just jump out the window. Stop jumping out the window without getting all the information now. Like she did that with the Neverland documentary. You know what I mean, right? Because that documentary got pushed out and it had inconsistencies a couple of weeks right after that. Right?
You're right.
I mean, and she backed it up heavy.
A lot of inconsistencies.
So with that, I think she's doing that because she doesn't want that to happen again. You know what I mean? And you cool. You was cool with Michael Jackson. You was right at his house. You was doing all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
So to me, that's learning in a courageous way, where it's like, all right, to your point, that's a good point. Like, I did this Michael Jackson situation. Soon after, not only did I get public, backlash from a lot of folks, but also there were some inconsistencies that came out. And Oprah is somebody who runs her, seemingly from me just growing up watching Oprah, you don't see too many moments where she has like not been critical about the moves she makes. So, to have that happen and then have this situation happen, and then see the inconsistencies. Also, like she made a judgment call. She was like, you know what, like, this is important. I will speak and stand up for the right for anybody to, make the accusations of what happened to them. But at the same time, I got to be accurate. I can't be associated with it if you're gonna put it out with these inaccuracies, and that's huge. That's a big move on her part.
Yeah,
it is interesting.
I respect that for doing that and trying to be more accurate than just trying to get some information out there, or whatever. Or try to, whatever.
50 Cent brought up like, she's attaching herself to documentary, because none of these are her, well, except for the Finding Neverland thing, where she was more directly involved, but none of these are like her documentaries, like they're directed.
No, she's an executive. Oh, okay.
No, but they're directed. You know what I'm saying? Directed by other people. But she's attached herself to these with the message of the documentaries, and they've all been black men. Do you think what's your read on them being only black men and her not going after a Harvey Weinstein, her not going after a Bryan Singer, her not going after all these other alleged pedophiles, rapists, creeps that exist in the Hollywood space?
I feel like that is wrong. I feel like that you should include those people as well. Even though she does speak out against them, she did speak out against Harvey Weinstein, but she didn't go as hard as she was towards Michael Jackson, as she was towards Russell Simmons. You know what I mean?
Do you see what Seal did?
Nah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know, right? Seal come out the woodworks.
That's my guy too.
Seal,
I like Seal though.
So Seal, I guess, like when after she spoke against Harvey Weinstein, Seal was like, "Oh, so you gonna front like you didn't know the entire time?" Like Seal put up like a post saying, like, because I guess it's a picture of Oprah kissing Harvey Weinstein.
Like on the lips?
Cheek, on the cheek, on the cheek.
Say,
just indicating like a closeness. There's a couple pictures that kind of indicate that socialization. Seal was basically accusing Oprah of kind of quietly knowing and not doing much about it or whatever. So, whether or not, and Oprah's never addressed that, you know what I'm saying? So, but like, Oprah undeniably has proximity to these powerful people. Whether or not they were best of friends or this being collegial in Hollywood or whatever. So, but it is interesting that, boom, Michael Jackson. But also it's just like, is it wrong to hold the people that are in your community accountable? Technically. You know what I'm saying? Is it a thing where it's just like you're only being racist towards your own kind, but you will leave the white man alone when he does his dirt? Or are you holding your own community accountable by doing these things, even if the movies are directed by white people. These are the things I be thinking about.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I mean, she's in the realm. She works with Hollywood. She works with different factions in the larger corporations and stuff like that. I think you should be more balanced with all of that.
More balanced, equal opportunity accuser or equal opportunity justice bringer for sure.
All right.
Okay, I hear you.
I mean, what we looking like, man?
Man, we looking like it's time already. All right. Peace to DJ Chris Starks for listening, and all the others that have been listening on Facebook Live. You've been listening to Cypress Scholars, part education, part hip hop, all culture. You can catch us every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2 on 104.3 Wayo FM. You can also catch us on Facebook, IG, and online. Peace and progress.